everybody. This is Melinda with Mythic Mel podcast, going into my second year of podcasting on Awakening Airwaves. We recently celebrated our 100th episode as a collective and our first year doing podcasting, and it was really illuminating to watch everybody sharing around how it's been for them. And we had a gathering on Reiki Radio and with Yolanda Williams to talk about like what it has been for us to be podcasting. And I wasn't able to join that live. And I just wanted to reflect on my experience of that and share it with everybody. Because as I go forward, I will change and evolve the way that I'm sharing here. And for one thing, not read from any kind of a script and use bullet points and just try to be more myself. And it's been a journey, you know. I'm going to be interviewing myself because what I've learned is I really like interviewing people. And so I'm going to interview myself. And hopefully that will let you know how it's been for me. So my first question is, let me find my question. Okay, so it's been a year. What have you learned in this last year about podcasting, about yourself, about anything related to this experience? Thank you for asking that question. What haven't I learned? I've learned everything I already knew, but wasn't putting it into practice. So it was a learning about the fact that there was so much I still hadn't integrated about sharing from my heart around about things that I love. And I was stuck a little bit in the beginning in an old academic paradigm of like, well, I have to present information. I'm an academic, you know, I have a doctorate in medieval French literature. So I'm going to show up and, you know, I'm going to really talk about the text and talk about the original sources of the myth and, you know, read line by line and really parse out some of the symbols and the meaning from the text. And as I did that, I was like, no, this is good. It's great information, but it's not where I want to be going right now. It didn't feel freeing. And I really want that freedom of mind to associate between myth and real life and our, you know, and how myth can actually be embedded and embodied in our day-to-day. So in the beginning, when I looked back at my very first episode, I saw a person truly grappling with like what it was they were doing. Like here was this opportunity to come and talk about what really matters, to talk about anything really that I wanted. And I really was attracted to myth because it's really one of my first loves as a child, you know, and just stories in general. I'm fascinated by people's stories and how the symbols of their lives just can be opened. Any little detail can be opened up and reveal everything about them in some ways. And I love that. But that's vast, you know, so you have to try to have a frame around it. So Greek mythology is a wonderful frame. There's a lot of wonderful energies within myths, and we can learn from them and we can recognize those qualities within ourselves, and it makes life fun. So, but I look back and I was like, oh my God, you know, I had to really create a map for myself. That's one of the things I did in the very first episode, is create a map and go like, who am I? There has to be a temple of questions. There has to be a sanctuary for listening. There has to be a disco for parties. And then let's talk about Echo and Narcissus or whatever myth it is. But yeah, I was just feeling a lot of compassion for myself as I look back. And And I'm really working it out in real time, like how to share, what language I want to use. I was a little bit constricted, a lot. I was constricted. I felt that perfectionist tendency that comes from like, part of it is, you don't want to be vulnerable. You want to be a know-it-all. Yeah. But the whole point of like spiritual growth is that you come to know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. So it's like the balance, like how do you present information and also just go, listen, this is just some information, could be useful for you, but like do with it what you will and take what resonates, leave the rest. But let's not get too stuck in the details and too needing to like have everything link in this perfect way. So yeah, what was the question again? The question was, it's been a year. What have you learned? Oh yeah. Okay. What came to mind was initiation. It's been an initiation. The whole 12 months. In the very beginning, it was like so deeply uncomfortable to show up in this new way, in this new format, and talk to like a camera. And I know you're supposed to feel like you're talking to somebody out there. And I really, in the beginning, I didn't feel that way. Now I do. Now I know that you're listening. And I know that you are, some of you are enjoying it and like taking it into your cars and just having me hang out with you. And I am so appreciative of that. And also just helping you smile and helping you feel maybe inspired from time to time, and just taking you along for the ride has been really fun. But initiation it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, and it's an initiation that's public. So here you are like presenting things you love publicly. And so part of my mind and consciousness in the beginning was like in terror. It's like, I have to get this right. But then now I look back and I'm like, of course, anytime you learn something new, it's like trial and error. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to show up anyway. You have to be willing to make mistakes, and they could be public. And so what? Like, who cares? Yeah. So it's been a process of like looking back and going and cringing at a lot of things, but also going, yeah, no, that was wonderful. I love that. I love that. I loved every part of it. It's been like a birth, a rebirth. And births, as we know from my episode interviewing Erin, my best friend from childhood, and she's a midwife, and she was talking about in birth, there comes that time when you're like, the woman is like, I can't do it anymore. That's it. I can't do it. And that is exactly the moment where things are going to change and the birth will happen, and it will become a joy and radiance and light. But in order to get there, you have to feel what you're feeling, sit in the discomfort, breathe through it, contract, expand. And so, yeah, it's been an initiation. And what was the question again? It's been a year. What have you learned? Oh, yeah. Thank you. What a great interviewer you are. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love you. I love you too. Yeah, so it's been about integrating different voices. It's been about learning from the other podcasters on this platform. So like I've learned so much about crystals and crystal grids. I've learned about astrology. I've learned about the Akashic records. I've learned about relationships and Reiki symbols in a deeper way, and about conscious consumption and seeking and surrendering in the conversations that we have, and how it's so fun to just see how people share what they love, and how also everybody grows in the process of this initiation. We've all on Awakening Airwaves been going through this initiation, and we've all been changed by it. And we're all very cognizant of like that it's been uncomfortable in a lot of ways, but also like giving ourselves grace that that's what's supposed to happen. That is how it is. And we are like living examples of the process. And so congratulations to everybody on year 1 of podcasting. And that's another thing about it. This was an unexpected opportunity that dropped in our laps from our thought leader, Queen Yolanda Williams, who had this concept to bring us all together and to have us share in this way. And it's like whenever an opportunity comes and you don't feel ready, you have to just do it anyway, especially if there's a little part of you that's like, yeah, I think I could. But you have to move through that initiatory phase, the vulnerable phase, the phase where you're not great at everything, the phase where you're just working it again and again. And it reminded me, I'm a teacher of dance and aerial arts, and it's what I say to my students all the time. Like, you come to a belly dance class for the first time. It's a whole new language if you've never done it. You are learning a language of your body that you've never encountered before, that you've never like attuned to. So it takes time. It takes time to learn German if you've never spoken German. It takes time to learn French, Greek, whatever it is, to form your mouth around new ways of sounding vowels. You have to give yourself grace and you have to keep trying. And it's very vulnerable. I can't say that enough. And you just have to trust and keep practicing, giving yourself grace, giving yourself compassion. And know, me as a teacher of physical arts, as movement arts, like I am holding space for that growth and transformation while knowing that there's a lot of discomfort involved. But also I am compassionate about that. But at the same time, you still have to do the work. And it's just a practice. And then one day after a year, you look back and you're like, look at how hard that was. But I did it. I showed up anyway and I did it. So, and you do it for you, you do it for you, and you grow stronger as a result. And you gain skills along the way, and friends and community that you never expected. So yeah, what was the question again? The question was, it's been a year. What have you learned doing Mythic Mel? Thank you. Right. Yeah. Also, the last thing I want to say about this question is the audience. Like, I have so appreciated the feedback, the comments, any ways that any of the information has moved you or touched you or inspired something. It's been a privilege to share about these incredible guests I've had on the program. I mean, the wisdom of the midwife in terms of like what Erin, learned about being a midwife, helping people, holding space for discomfort, for new birth, bringing new birth into the world, for the body's wisdom. And then really reflecting on how that is also a process of when we do our kind of second birth, when we are beginning to awaken to a greater reality, a spiritual dimension. Like, there's a lot of growing pains associated with that. There is a lot of dark nights of the soul, but they're all correlated to the birthing process, the biological birthing process. That's really fascinating. I love talking about that. I loved talking with Ellen Halpern about myofascial body work and all of the experiences she's had, like massaging people and being with people's bodies and tapping into the understanding energy in different ways, and helping them just as she's helped me. And I love talking to my stepson, Alex Pavlata, who is a clown, but he's more of he's just wise. He's the wise fool. And just reflecting with him on how it is we need to embrace our inner clown. And which again is that aspect of embracing the vulnerability part and sort of that moment where you catch, where instead of shaming yourself, you laugh at yourself. That's really important. And also just this appreciation that came through in that episode, where the people in the world who really show the extremes of things, who aren't doing the conventional stuff, the people who are like the wild thinkers, the punks, the people who go beyond to the fringe. Like, we need people like that. We need people to expand our minds. We need people to not be conventional so that we can free ourselves of certain ways of thinking that are just really prisons, and we can open ourselves up to other ways and kind of explode paradigms. And yeah, so the wisdom of the clown does that. And then I got to have a great conversation with Justin Durham, who is an extraordinary circus artist, hand balancer. And that conversation came just in the moment he was having his first Cirque du Soleil contract. And so it was just like remarkable to talk with him and to celebrate his journey as a circus artist and all of his, he's just and he's a wonderful Gemini. So he's very curious and he's very great at talking about all kinds of topics. And we talked about the breath and aligning yourself to what it is you're doing and aligning your body in the proper way to keep balance, and just practice. And then I got to talk with the shaman, Anne Drake, my shamanic teacher, and just her incredible life story and learning from this shaman in Borneo and her time as a Peace Corps volunteer in the late 60s, and then how she integrates shamanism with her work in psychotherapy. Like, it's just amazing, and learning about how she's helped to heal people, not to heal people, to allow people to heal themselves, allow their soul to be healed. First, it takes a willingness and a co-creation with the person who's seeking, the healing. You can't force people to do anything that they're not ready for, interested in. And again, it's all uncomfortable work. You get on this path of quote unquote awakening, and you're like, it's not going to be rainbows and all the time, but a lot of rainbows come, thank goodness. And yeah, so I knew that going into this year of podcasting. And I knew that no matter how much discomfort I would experience along the way, as I figured out what it was I wanted to share exactly and how, that I knew it would be uncomfortable because it's a new birth, but also that it would be fun because I like to try to make everything fun on some level. And even discomfort at this point, it's not really discomfort anymore. I'm just like, oh, look at you, look at, and I laugh. And I'm like, just let it go, because take the long view, keep going, keep doing. This is why not? There's a reason that we were all brought together and offered this opportunity. And so keep going. The world is a whole new place now, and the internet is making the conversation even bigger. And there are people who are seekers who really love to learn from all different kinds of people and all different kinds of information. And you can find anything that you want. And I prefer that it not be all from artificial intelligence. I'm not knocking it one way or the other, but I like a human perspective yeah, a human perspective is good. All right. Did I answer your question? You over answered my question, Melinda. Okay. You really need to control your Mercury I know. I have the Virgo thing. I like to purify the words as they're coming out. And then the Pisces moon is like, what did I just say? And who am I, etc. Yes. Okay. Stick to the point. Okay. My next question for you. What have been your favorite moments of doing a podcast? Okay. My favorite moments. My favorite moments have been, synchronicities, for one. Synchronicities were really cool. So as I was researching a goddess or a god and all of the different ways that I would kind of work with that deity for that time period, it was really clear that the energy of that deity was actually operating somehow in my field of awareness beyond what I could have imagined. So when I was doing my episode on the muses, and I was really focused in on how they would get up and they would dance in the morning and around this spring of water, and their feet were barefooted. They were barefooted and they would walk on these violets, and the violets would kind of bleed onto their feet. It would be this purpley blue color. And so I got on this quest to go get some violets for my altar. And while I was at that farm store getting my violets, at the checkout, the person who was checking me out looked at my violets and had this incredible story about violets and the role they played in his life. And you can check out that episode on the muses. But in any case, it was just like I was being shown just how interconnected we all are, and how once you do focus on something, it just comes in spades and you just start to notice it and attract it. And so it is very important to be mindful about what you're focusing on, because it's coming, whatever it is. So thank you. Abundance. Focusing on abundance. But yeah, so synchronicities. And in that episode also, I was thinking, no, the Demeter episode. In the Demeter episode, Demeter is putting this baby Demophon in a fire to make him immortal. And so that's like this fire of purification. And so I was really thinking about that purifying fire. And in a meditation, Saint Germain of the violet flame dropped in. I didn't even know anything about Saint Germain or the violet flame, but there's a whole thing about Saint Germain and the violet flame. So I was paying attention because, first of all, violets, and I just told you about violets. Second of all, Saint Germain. So I didn't know who Saint Germain was. So I went down a rabbit hole. And in that period of doing that podcast, I also saw this medium, the psychic medium. I had a session with her, and she had a download about Saint Germain, and that I was just amazed because I had been really, really focused and thinking about Saint Germain out of nowhere. I had no idea before about Saint Germain. So just all these kinds of synchronicities. And it's like, you don't have to make meaning out of everything. You don't have to be like, well, this means that and blah, blah, blah. But you're just noticing where your attention goes. It seems to just be in your field and you attract it more. And so I really started to be very mindful about where I was placing my attention. And I at all times, I try to be mindful about that. And, look at the last episode I did on Hermes and the power of speech, but also thought. You really want to be managing your speech and your thought, because it really is all magic. And that has been a really big takeaway for me. Also, just being able to consistently download whatever is my next mythic content and then see where it takes me and learn and grow from it. And just, it kind of, again, makes life more interesting, more fun. And again, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to have it all tied up with a neat bow, but you sort of walk looking at life in mythopoetic ways, and you see symbols, and it just, sometimes things come together and you're like, oh, that's what that means for me right now. And other times you're like, okay, I'll file that away. That's going to mean something later. I don't know what it means right now. You don't have to force the timing of it. So those have been some of my favorite times. And like I said before, my guests, I love my guests. They've been amazing. I'm going to keep having guests. The community of podcasting women who I'm with here on Awakening Airwaves, learning from them, watching their episodes has been just a gift also, just to be in relationship with them. Whenever you meet new people and you get to know them, and it's about topics that you all share a deep love for, about healing, about spirituality and making life more fun and magical, learning, but again, back to the very beginning, it's always about figuring out how to manage discomfort, because life is lifing and it's uncomfortable, and there's so many tools and perspectives that can help, that we share on this Awakening Airwaves platform. So very grateful for that. Very grateful for you, the audience, for the support, for the comments on YouTube, on Instagram, just for, and in the background, just everybody who's reached out. I'm really grateful. And thank you. And just, for your grace of, it's been a learning process. Even though I've been an entertainer my whole life, even though I've been on stages, to be in this format is very different. To be talking about this, about stuff, is very different. So I hope in sharing my vulnerability, my initiation, that it will help you remember that it's normal. You just notice when you're uncomfortable and just file it away as information, but still do the thing, feel the fear, do it anyway type of thing. And little by little, using tools of breath and all the other things we share about on this channel, you process and you soothe your nervous system and you learn how to balance your elements, and little by little, just fill yourself with more light, sense of lightness, etc. Okay, next question. Let's talk about your outfits. What about my outfits? Well, how did you choose to wear, what you're wearing on camera? Okay, well, first of all, doing podcasting has encouraged me to make sure that I've done my hair, that it's at least washed. I can't keep up with the roots anymore, but I kind of like it when they start to come in. I don't mind that because, wisdom. There's a little wisdom once you get up there past the 5th decade. It's fun. Today, for example, I just decided to wear something fabulous. This incredible shawl thing, which is a gift from Zoe and Justin to me for one of my birthdays. And I absolutely love it. And so I wore it today. I'm wearing my Hecate necklace. I always try to wear something connected to what I'm saying. Even if I don't talk about it, it's there's something about it. Hecate, she really is that dark goddess. She's a guide into the darkness, into the discomfort. She's the guide when you're making choices, and she really wants you to make the uncomfortable choice. That is the one that's leading you to your true soul truth. It doesn't always feel comfortable. She's the one who I talked about a lot in the people-pleasing episode. So I have her on because she's a goddess of the crossroads. And I really feel like this podcasting experience was a crossroads moment. And, to share about what I feel about myth and about life and about even my own offerings. The fact I do card readings, I do Reiki sessions, in addition to being a dance teacher and a circus arts coach. I have these other interests, and I've not shared about them very much publicly, and now I am. So, yeah, all of that stuff. Do you have any other questions? Yes, I do. How has this impacted your family? Well, my family loves me no matter what I do, which is wonderful. And they're all willing to hop on camera if I ask them to and talk about anything. And I don't know. They love it. I mean, they're proud of me, and they are always up for whatever is my next adventure, which is why I'm a very happy person. I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful family. I love my family. Yeah. Okay, so let's pull a card in celebration of this year anniversary, this 100 episodes of Awakening Airwaves. And this will be my 13th episode, and it's the beginning of the new era for me, year 2, and sharing without reading from a script. What do you have to say, Spirit? Oh my God. It's the Sun card. This is from the Energetic Alchemist deck. The Sun card is about illuminated consciousness. And there's a little girl. She's riding this horse, this white horse, away from the pyramids, where she's done an immense amount of learning through doing all kinds of shadow work, through doing whatever investigations into all of her fears and doubts and worries and insecurities. And now she's been reborn in this innocent aspect and isn't holding the reins tightly, is allowing life to carry her where it needs to be. And then this aspect of her is also there and is always going to be near the pyramids, which are sites of initiation and learning. And these two aspects of her are always in operation. She's aware of both the shadow and the light. She's aware of what frequency she's operating from. And it's just a great card of celebration, the Sun. It's a great note to end on. It's number 19, so also numerologically 1 + 9 is 10. Here we are at a new beginning, a new cycle, and year 2 of Mythic Mel. And I really am so appreciative of everybody who's been involved in my journey, who's supported me, who's listened when I've asked them to. And I just appreciate all of you. I appreciate myself for showing up and doing this anyway. And I wish you all a wonderful day. And I say again, happy birthday to Awakening Airwaves. And thank you to all the podcasting ladies and Yolanda. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.